Hello everyone, I recently went down to a Star Wars Unlimited weekly event with my green mono Palpatine deck. Let's throw the deck list up on the screen so you can have a look, and let's go through how I did. Well, as my normal record goes with these events, I managed to win a game, lose a game, and draw a game. So in the first round, I played against my friend Mark, who was running Lando Calrissian, and well, I managed to go 1-1, which I think was pretty good. The matchup seemed fairly even in terms of I was certainly trying to get to the sort of end gamer quicker, but he was doing a lot of annoying things along the way. Now with this one, in the first game, I managed to get to enough resources to start plonking down some of my bigger units, which caused a real issue, nicely being able to play the finalizer, and that managed to just round the game out for me. I managed to basically capture everything and just that round, as that had been deployed, deal the damage that I needed to do to win. Unfortunately, I couldn't quite get there. I wasn't getting my ramp cards early on in the game. In the second game that we played, the sort of rematch part of that first round, and my base was just worn down before I could get anything big and powerful out. I think the Palpatine ability in this round against Lando worked okay. I wasn't really able to get anything good in that second game for that steal, so I just had to sort of deploy and start using the damage. Maybe I should have held on, but I did 4 damage to the base, and 4 seems like a good amount still. So overall, I think the deck worked. I just couldn't get the ramp cards in the second game, and we didn't have enough time to finish off the best of 3, so it went down as a 1-1. The second round, well, this is where I played against a green Vader deck, and similar concept in terms of trying to sort of get a little bit of ramp going. And I got whooped. It was 0-2. It was pretty sort of, from the score, convincing. I just got a little bit... It was one of those ones it felt like it was in reach. Even though it was 2-0, both games I was just maybe a turn behind and maybe being able to do something that would have turned it for me. Just as I'd taken something, be it a space unit over, because when I deployed Palpatine, both times, as soon as I'd done that Tarkin Town damage, then took that unit out, and that was really painful because I'd made some good plays to line up a steal just for Tarkin Town to just do that chip, like 3 damage to a damaged unit that took me out. Couple that with a fallen lightsaber, I think it was, and maybe even a Vader's lightsaber. That just did some real damage that I wasn't quite able to deal with, and therefore I lost. I feel like if I'd just managed to somehow have got the use of Tarkin Town out of the way on one of my other units earlier, maybe then, when I deployed Palpatine, stole that sort of, in one of the games, a ship over a heavy hitting ship, then I would have maybe done better. But a 2-0, but it felt achievably close, so I wasn't dejected from that. And then, in the final round, I went 2-0 against a Grand Inquisitor, and whoa, that is a deck I'd not come up against, and did some real damage real quick, to the extent 5 damage was already on my base at the end of turn 1. Yeah, that's not normally something you see, but it managed to deploy a unit which had grit, and therefore Grand Inquisitor did damage, readied him up. With that grit, did 5 damage. It was nasty to start with, and I was really worried. Palpatine is all about getting those cards sort of resourced, getting a load of resources, and then being able to play, at least how I've built this deck. And I was just worried Grand Inquisitor was going to wipe the floor with me. Well, actually, in fact, it turned out Palpatine's really quite good at dealing with that. Not so much just because of Palpatine, but you can I had ECL, so I managed to throw in a super laser technician at a unit, finishing it off, getting myself a resource. I managed to use a command really nicely to actually deal damage and become a resource. And actually in the second game, when my opponent, the Grand Inquisitor player, was at 4 resources, I was already at 8 and managed to deploy, stealing a unit that hadn't been used yet, so a ready one. I just did a really big wombo round that, taking one thing out, deploying Palpatine perfectly in time, getting their unit, and I just managed to win. I found it was almost because of the way Grand Inquisitor plays, if you get to deploy Palpatine, you have a choice, because pretty much all of their units are going to be damaged, because they're trying to be damaged coming out of the gate swinging. Really enjoyed that last game. I know it sounds bad just because it was a 2-0, but I actually had fun with the Palpatine. But now let's look at the deck. What am I going to change? What did I do slightly wrong and stuff like that? First of all, I have 2 Endless Legion cards in there, and I don't know if that's right. They're there, so I have them, and you know, if it comes out early and I have to resource one, there's probably another one. But it just feels like an underutilised spot for a very much an endgame play card that I'm kind of hoping for. Just by ramping, I can play big units, and I don't necessarily need the oomph of an Endless Legion every time. So there's that. The next thing is that I did dabble with the sideboarded the finalizer, and I'll probably keep that in just for the variety's sake. I enjoyed having the opportunity to use that one, and I've not quite worked out of those big ships which one is really my favourite. One card that did particularly well for me that I definitely will highlight is the Colonel Yularen. Just really managing to heal my base, prolonging the game out, and really it became a target that I managed to buff up so it stayed alive for a little bit longer, and then get a sentinel that was also green in front of it, so that did a heal and stopped it being taken out. It just meant that that was a focal point. The enemy, the opponent, had to really try and focus in and take the Colonel Yularen out. And if they didn't, it just meant I was going to be able to do a little bit of health regen, you know, restoring just one, but it all added up. I think, in fact, one Colonel Yularen in one of the games probably restored my base by about 5, which is absolutely mental. But it was just the way I'd managed to sort of get a lot of resources, get him out, get a sentinel in front of him that was green. So he heals 1 by being played. The sentinel, phase 3 has sentinel and is green, so that was a heal. And then I played a Vader, which also played something else from my deck, which was also green, and you can see how that snowballed into regenerating quite a lot of health. And well, I think that worked really nicely. Seasoned Shore Troopers are an absolute staple, I think, in a Palpatine deck and ramp deck that's green and villainy at least. Why? Because they are really okay early game, but you feel still good about playing them later on, because as soon as you get to 6 resources, even in that round, they get that bit of a buff. And I like that, especially as, well, kind of the whole purpose of Palpatine is survive the early rounds and then you're playing later. Well, even one of those cheaper units that you can play early is still good later. So that was a nice one. Price on your head is something I might have to dabble with. It felt very much the case that if I'm playing that onto a unit, I need a real way to take it out. And in fact, in one game, I managed to get 2 price on your heads onto one person, and it was actually on the opponent's super laser technician, which meant they didn't really want to just take their own unit out in a certain way to get that resource, because I would then get 2. That felt like a really good trade, but also it takes a bit of time, so that will maybe be something I'll dabble with, at least dropping one of those to the sideboard and swapping something in. But I did have a lot of fun with this Palpatine deck. And bar a couple of tweaks, yeah, It's fun to play. You just gotta really get to those big resources. You're gonna try and get to 6, 7 resources as quickly as you can and just hope that your opponent hasn't amassed too much on the board while you're doing that. A big problem with Command is that you can't target you have to target non-unique units, which is a pain, and also means you have to be able to do damage out like that, you actually have to have something on the board, which isn't always something that I found I had. But overall, green mono Palpatine was a lot of fun. Anyway, let me know in the comments section below what you've been playing. If you've been playing Star Wars Unlimited, have you been going to any of the weekly events? And until next time, have an unlimitedly good day.